Hello everyone, welcome to a new video, another planty video. It is me, Desiree. I'm in my winter Christmassy sweater, feeling all the cozy winter vibes. And today I wanted to talk about philodendron McDowell. This is one of my favorite plants. And now I'm looking at that leaf over there. That leaf has got to be this big. It looks bigger than it did the other day. I love this plant so much. It's really big. It makes a statement. It does have, you know, its pros and cons like a lot of plants do, but I have two different ones I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to go over when I bought them, how much they were, how they've been to take care of, the pots I have them in, the soil, pest management, all that kind of stuff, and then like lighting and care and all that kind of stuff. So let me show you the first one I bought. It's this one. It didn't look like this when I bought it. It wasn't living in a jar of water, but I bought this in December from cactusclub.com, and it arrived on Christmas Eve. So I knew I was taking a chance ordering a plant online in December, because shipping a plant when it's really cold or when it's really hot, it can really take a toll on the plant. So this one arrived. It did have the heat pack in it. I remember it had a heat pack, but it's still cold, right? It's still the end of December. So even if it had a heat pack, it's still sitting in a cold truck, in a cold warehouse, and you know, it really took a toll on the plant. So when it arrived, it was really big. So let me see what size this was when I got it. So this was a 6-inch plant when I got it. Well, it was in a 6-inch planter, but the plant was like this tall with these huge leaves. I had never seen a plant like this in real life. And I was just like, I couldn't get it out of my head and out of my heart that I wanted this plant so bad. So I took a chance, ordered it in winter, and it arrived okay. Like the biggest leaf on the plant had cracked in half, and it was kind of just like hanging there like this. And when I saw it online, I kind of thought, I wonder how they're going to be able to ship that, just because of how long the stems are, how big the leaves are. It just kind of seems like it's a difficult plant to ship. So I feel like I was taking a chance on that as well, and it did arrive kind of like the biggest leaf had cracked off. And then the other two leaves on it got this black spot. Like there was a black spot on it probably the next day, and it quickly spread over the entire leaf. So I cut both of those leaves off. Then there was only one leaf left. I don't remember, but it grew a leaf. It grew this leaf here. And I mean, it's a smaller leaf. It's still very big, a big leaf for a plant, but for a McDowell, it's a small one. Like this is a smaller version of the plant now. It grew this one leaf, but it wasn't doing very well in the soil. It just seemed like it was constantly getting root rot, even though I feel like I went out of my way to make the soil as like light as possible. Like the water just drained through that soil so quickly. But for some reason, it just kept getting root rot. So I took the plant out, I washed off all the soil, and I put it in a jar of water, and it seems to be doing really good. The roots were getting really big and long, like really full and beautiful. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pot it back up. I potted it back up, same thing happened. Root rot, like right away. It was so strange. So I took it out again, and it's been living in this jar ever since. It has grown 2 leaves since it's been in the water. It grew this one, the second leaf, and it was like stuck in the sheath, and it ripped obviously when it was coming out, so that has a big chunk missing. And then this leaf just opened up the other day, this one right here. So this leaf looks perfect except for the tip of the leaf. I had this glass and I was trying to put it under the sink to fill it with water, and the tip of that leaf cracked right off. It was when it was still rolled up in a sheath. So I thought, oh no, finally a perfect leaf, and then I cut the tip of it right off. So the leaf is still really soft, but the plant seems to be making a rebound. It also has a new growth stem, like growth point right there, that little red, this one right here. That's a new growth point. So that's eventually going to be a new leaf. So it's doing okay-ish. I have it in a window, in the windowsill in my front room. It's in a north-facing window. It's doing okay. This is one that I think if, I don't know, like it gets, maybe that next leaf grows and it looks really good, maybe I'll sell this one or give it away, because, you know, it's a good plant, but I don't need 2 of them, and I don't need one like this that I have to baby. Just because I don't know why this one it just keeps getting root rot so much. So As disappointing as this plant was when I got it, you know, from the big leaf cracking off to the leaves getting that black spot to like each one of these leaves has an issue, except this one. This one looks really nice. I can't keep it in soil, it has to live in water. Even though all of that is going on with this plant, I still wanted this plant. I still wanted a big one. So I bought another one on Cactus Club in March. At the end of March, they had another one go on their website. I bought it right away and it arrived on March 23rd. Let me go get this big boy for you. And I think it's safe to say this one arrived in great shape. It arrived perfectly. It has put out multiple leaves. I mean, look at this leaf right here. Look how big that leaf is. I can't believe how big that is. I just saw it this morning and I was like, what the heck? That leaf has gotten so big, like just within the last couple of weeks. It's amazing. It's an amazing leaf. And look how beautiful it is. It has like this really pretty green color with all of this veining, and the veining just adds to like the beautiful texture, like those white lines in it. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous plant. The only thing with this plant is that it grows just so wild. So let me show you the pot I have it in. Okay, it's in, I don't know what size this is, a 6 or an 8-inch pot. And you can see it has grown over the pot. This plant will just grow in one long line like that. So a lot of the time I see people have this plant, they have it in one of those long planters to kind of accommodate the weird growth style that this plant has. This looks like a plant that would be really good outside, like lining a fence or something, like it would just grow really long across a fence or a brick wall or something like that. But of course, those of us that try to grow it in our house, we have to kind of accommodate its growth pattern. And another thing about it, the stems. Okay, look at this stem. Look how crooked it is. It'll look super crooked like this one day and then straight up facing the ceiling the next day. All of them do that. They all kind of just bend and twist and zigzag. It's kind of a really wild looking plant. I do need to put this in another pot, but I really don't want to put it in one of those long planters. I don't know, I just don't like the way those look. I've been trying to find like a nice looking one and I can only find like plastic ones, and I don't want one of those. I want like a ceramic one or one made of concrete or something like that. Another reason I don't really want to put it in one of those planters is because one of the things people say about this plant all the time is that it gets root rot. I always hear them repotting it got root rot, taking care of the root rot, like always root rot. And I had that issue with that little one there. So this one here, I went out of my way to make this soil like as airy as possible, as light as possible. I kept the soil that Cactus Club sent it in because they use a really nice soil for their plants, but I added a little bit more of like a bark type of thing when I repotted it into this planter. And I do have to water it very frequently. Usually I have to water this like every 10 to 14 days or so. I feel like that's a lot for a plant. I do let it get all the way dry and then I water it. Sometimes I let it go a little too long and the leaves start feeling a little soft. They start feeling a little like limp. And so far it's doing really well with that kind of care. I did have an incident with this plant because of how it's growing over the pot. It does tend to kind of like lean one way or another. So I keep a little cat statue sitting inside of the planter to hold the plant up. But one day for some reason I got up in the morning and the plant was on the ground. It was on the ground and the new leaf was broken. It cracked right in half. But it had another growth point like this one does right here. That red point right there, that's a new leaf that's gonna grow. And again, it's just gonna grow right on the outside, and then another one will grow on the outside, and it'll just grow like in a long vine, like a long straight vine across the ground. As far as lighting goes, I have this big one here right there on that table, right in front of the window. Like one of these leaves touches the window. It's a west-facing window. It gets really, really bright, hot sun in the afternoon, especially during the summertime. It really loves that kind of light, and I find that these stems bend towards the light. So when I had it in a different spot, it was like bending over the pot trying to get to the light. So I keep it right there, right under the window. It also kind of leans up on a little shelf I have there, so it's very stable on that table, and I have that little statue in there. So lighting, it loves a lot of bright light. That's what I've found to be the case, and I think that's kind of what helps these leaves get really big as well. As far as propagating goes, I've never tried it before, but I think I might try with this newest leaf that's growing in, because it does seem like there's little nodes there and little aerial roots they're going to grow, kind of like a monstera would or any other kind of philodendron. We kind of cut it right below the node, put it in some water, and root it. So I might do that with this newest leaf to kind of see how it'll go, but I haven't tried it yet. But I would imagine it's kind of just as easy to propagate this as any other philodendron. Just cut it at the node or at the little aerial root bump that's right there. Cut it right underneath that, put it in some water, and kind of just let it root out of there. And as far as pests go, this plant loves spider mites. The spider mites just love this plant. So I do check it every single time I water it. I check the backs of the leaves. I look all around it to make sure I'm not seeing those little white, because sometimes you don't see webs right away from spider mites. You see little like white gatherings in little crevices, and you'll kind of see them starting to make like a little home on your plant. So check it really closely. Make sure you check in the crevices of the veining as well. You know, I've seen people get a magnifying glass to see them. They're really tiny. And if you can see them, like, the sooner the better before they start wreaking havoc on your leaves. They tend to just like suck all the nutrients out of your leaves, and your leaves look really weird with a lot of spider mite damage. But the way that I treat them, and the one I have in the water, that one also has gotten spider mites in the water. I don't know where they come from or how they know this plant is in your house, but somehow they find a way. But I use this for everything. This is the Captain Jack's Insecticidal Super Soap. And I had seen people talk about this, but I never knew what it was. And I saw it in the store one day and I was like, that's that stuff everyone always talks about. And this stuff works so well on spider mites. So it's ready to use right from here. You don't have to mix it or dilute it or anything. I've seen people wear gloves. I never do, but I do this outside. I spray all of the leaves down. Make sure you're not in the direct sun. Make sure you're like in a covered porch, or it's early in the morning or late in the afternoon, like when the sun's kind of setting already. You don't want to do this in the direct sun, because I think the sun with the soap on it can really like burn the leaves. So spray the heck out of it. Spray every single inch of the leaf, the underside and the stem. I get my hands like this and really like rub it in there, massage it in there, get it up and down the stem as well. Make sure you get it on every single part of the leaf. And then I just let it there to drip dry. I don't rinse it off. I've never seen on here that says you have to rinse it off, but I have seen some people rinse it as well. I don't usually do that. I just leave it. Usually one treatment gets rid of them. I don't have to do it every single week unless it's like a serious infestation, but I've never had to redo the treatment on a regular basis. I just kind of check it again, and if it gets them again, then I'll spray it. You can also do this as a preventative measure, but I found that when I've done that, it does kind of burn the leaves a little bit. They'll get really like brown and crispy on the edges. This definitely happened on my peace lily, like my really big peace lily. I was doing it as a preventative measure, and there's like brown edges all over them. So I say clean it when you see it. That's just been my experience and how it's working for me, and all the leaves are in perfect shape. And I absolutely love this stuff. There's one other one that I tried that I don't think did very well, but this one does really well, and it doesn't have a chemically smell. You don't really need to wear a mask when you're using it. You're not going to choke on it, like smelling it or being in the air. It does have a very sterile smell. It kind of smells like latex gloves. Like if you're wearing latex glove and you take them off, the way your hands smell, that's kind of how this smells, like a sterile hospital smell. But I'll take that any day over like a chemical that you got to put a mask on to wear. And it works really well. I've done it multiple times on this plant at this point. The plant didn't get a lot of damage on it. The leaves just really bounced right back. And I think that's kind of it. This is a really easy plant. For how like big and exotic that it looks, it's very easy. It needs a lot of light. Put it in an airy soil. That way it doesn't get root rot, because a lot of people get root rot like my other one did. Give it a lot of light, airy soil, water it when it's dry. take care of the spider mites, and this plant will just give you some big, beautiful leaves. Like, look at that. This is one of my favorite plants I've ever purchased. I want to find a way to stabilize it a little more because it is a little bit wobbly. Other than having that statue in here holding the plant up, I want to find a way to kind of keep it more stable. I got to look up something on this to see how people repot this a little more because mine's kind of wobbly in here. Maybe like some rocks, like some decorative rocks or something. Anyway, that is it. Let me know if you have one of these plants. What do you think about it? Would you buy it? Do you want one? How you're taking care of yours? I want to know it all. Let me know. Anyway, that is it. Thank you so much for joining us for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and I will see you later in another video.